Welcome to our channel, Coin Lovers. We're glad to have you here. Imagine finding a large, heavy dollar coin in an old box, a drawer, or even a forgotten collection passed down through your family. At first glance, it might look like just another old American coin, but then you notice the date, 1971. You turn it over, and suddenly you see something that connects this little piece of metal to one of the most remarkable moments in American history, the Apollo 11 moon landing. This is the 1971 Eisenhower Dollar, the very first year of the Eisenhower Dollar series. And there is one detail that can completely change what kind of coin you're looking at. So before you dismiss a 1971 Ike dollar as an ordinary old dollar, look closely at the mint mark, the finish, and especially the metal, because two 1971 Eisenhower dollars can look almost identical while having very different stories behind them. And later, I'll show you the specific 1971S varieties that collectors pay especially close attention to. The Eisenhower dollar arrived in 1971 during a fascinating period in American history. Dwight D. Eisenhower had been the 34th President of the United States, and he had also been one of the most important military leaders of World War II after his death in 1969. The idea of honoring him on a US dollar quickly gained attention. At the same time, America was still celebrating one of the greatest technological achievements in its history, Apollo 11 and the first human landing on the moon. The new dollar brought those two stories together. On the front was Eisenhower's portrait designed by chief engraver Frank Gasparo. On the reverse was an image inspired by the Apollo 11 mission insignia, showing Eagle descending toward the lunar surface with an olive branch. The U.S. Mint describes the 1971 Eisenhower dollar as the first circulating U.S. dollar coin authorized to carry the portrait of a president, and it was also the first circulating silver dollar coin produced since 1935. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't simply another new coin. It represented a president, a national memory, and America's journey into space, all on a single dollar. But here's where the 1971 story gets much more interesting. Not every Eisenhower dollar from 1971 contains silver. The mint produced two different compositions. Coins intended for circulation were copper-nickel clad, while special collector versions made at San Francisco used a 40% silver composition. That means the date alone doesn't tell you what you have. The mint mark matters. If you find a 1971 Eisenhower dollar with a D or no mint mark, don't automatically assume it's a silver coin. The special silver versions were produced at San Francisco and carry the S mint mark. This is one of the most important lessons for anyone searching old Ike dollars. Never judge an old coin only by its age or appearance. Identify exactly what you're holding first. Now imagine a real-world discovery. You're cleaning out an old cabinet and find a small envelope containing several large dollar coins. Most people would probably glance at them, notice the familiar Eisenhower portrait, and put them aside. But you take one out and look at the date, 1971. Then you turn it over. You notice the S mint mark. Suddenly, instead of an ordinary old dollar, you may be looking at one of the collector-oriented 40% silver Eisenhower dollars from the first year of the series. And that is where the hunt becomes exciting. Not because every 1971S is automatically rare or extremely valuable, but because collectors know that the first-year silver issues have several interesting varieties and condition, can make an enormous difference. The 1971S silver Eisenhower dollar was produced for collectors, and more than 4 million were made. PCGS lists a mintage of 4,265,234 for the 1971S silver proof, which tells us something important. This is not a coin where simply owning the date guarantees a fortune. In fact, many examples survive today. What collectors are really chasing are exceptional condition, attractive surfaces, strong proof contrast, and recognized varieties. That's a much more realistic way to understand coin value. A coin can be historically important without being extremely rare, and a coin can be common and average Condition but surprisingly desirable when you find an exceptional example. And now we come to one of the lesser-known parts of the 1971 story. Some 1971S silver proofs have recognized double die varieties. PCGS catalogs varieties including DDO-FS103, DDO-FS106, and DDR-FS801. DDO means doubled die obverse, while DDR means doubled die reverse. These aren't simply scratches or damage caused after the coin left the mint. Genuine doubled die varieties are created during the die-making process, and specialists examine specific areas of the design to determine whether the doubling is actually part of the die variety. That distinction is incredibly important because old coins often collect marks, machine damage, or wear that can look dramatic under a camera but have little or no numismatic premium. There's another fascinating variety that collectors may encounter, the peg leg variety on the 1971S silver proof. The nickname comes from the appearance of the R in Liberty, where the leg can appear unusually weak or absent because of die polishing. PCGS catalogs this as a recognized variety. This is exactly the kind of detail that makes coin collecting so addictive. Two coins can have the same date, the same denomination, the same mint mark, and even the same general appearance, but a tiny difference in the die can make one much more interesting to specialists. Condition is another major part of the story. A circulated 1971 Eisenhower dollar may show scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, or wear from years of handling. A carefully preserved proof or high-grade example can look dramatically different. And collectors don't simply ask, is it old? They ask questions like, how sharp are the details? Are the fields clean? Is the surface original? Does the coin have strong cameo contrast? Has it been professionally authenticated and graded? PCGS notes that high-end grades of the 1971S silver issues can be difficult to find even though the coins themselves are not particularly hard to locate. This is a perfect example of why condition rarity can matter more than age alone. So what could a 1971 Eisenhower dollar actually be worth? The honest answer is, it depends. A normal circulated example may have modest collector value, while a silver issue, proof, recognized variety, or exceptional certified specimen can bring considerably more. Some top-grade and major variety examples have sold for substantial amounts, but those auction results never be treated as a guaranteed price for every coin. For example, PCGS records auction results for certain exceptional 1971S silver proof varieties and high-grade examples ranging from hundreds to much higher amounts depending on the exact variety and grade. The lesson isn't every 1971 Ike is worth a fortune. The lesson is much more useful. Identify first. Evaluate condition second, and only then investigate market value. And there is one simple habit that can save you from making a mistake. If you think you've found a valuable variety, don't immediately clean the coin. Don't polish it, don't rub it with a cloth, and don't use household chemicals to make it shine. Original surfaces are important to collectors, and cleaning can permanently reduce a coin's desirability. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and compare it with trusted references or have a qualified professional examine it if the coin appears genuinely significant. What makes the 1971 Eisenhower dollar so fascinating isn't just the possibility of finding a valuable variety, it's the story hidden inside the design. Hold the coin in your hand and you're looking at Eisenhower on one side and an image connected to Apollo 11 on the other. One side represents a president whose life was tied to one of the defining conflicts of the 20th century. The other points toward the moment humans first walked on another world. And then there's the coin itself, a new American dollar beginning a series that would continue for years. So the next time you come across a big old Eisenhower dollar, don't throw it into a pile with ordinary change. Turn it over. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. If it's a 1971S, pay closer attention to whether it's silver proof, and whether the design shows a recognized variety. And remember, the most exciting coin discoveries don't always begin with someone saying, "I found a fortune." Sometimes they begin with something much quieter. "I almost didn't look twice." If you enjoyed this journey through the 1971 Eisenhower dollar, subscribe to Ultimate Coins World and stay with us for more American coin stories, varieties, and discoveries. And before you leave, take a second look through your own collection. That old dollar sitting in a drawer might not be a treasure, but until you check the details, you simply don't know its story. And in coin collecting, sometimes the smallest detail is where the real story begins.